Hey everyone, what's up? It's Patrick from Magnetic Nerd Federation, and today I'm going to show you how I made this, my very own pulse rifle. Alright, the first step in this begins like any other print I've done, with finding a file on the internet, slicing it, and sending it to the 3D printer. The guy who created this print is a guy by the name of Rob Pauza. Sorry if I screwed that up. He actually has a couple other Mandalorian files up on My Mini Factory, and My Mini Factory exclusive from what I was reading. You can actually print Mando's helmet as well as the gun. So, the process should be pretty straightforward. The 3D printer prints something, there you go. Well, and this is going to be a little PSA announcement to all you 3D printing nerds out there. Make sure you're always checking your machine. When I was printing this file, I was having a huge issue with the first layer not adhering to the print bed. It just wasn't layering flat, so there was not a lot of plastic contacting the metal sheet. So I went through all my standard checks. I calibrated, I checked the filament, nuts, bolts, belts. Nothing seemed to be working. I was still having awful prints. Well, the one thing I didn't check, the nozzle. The nozzle on my 3D printer was the nozzle I got with the machine. So that's, what, about 2 years old now? That nozzle was jacked the f up. So, take it from me kids, always check your nozzle. Fortunately, my in-laws bought me a fancy little kit to change your 3D printer nozzle, had a spare nozzle for the machine. So, swapped out the nozzles, and like magic, I was printing amazing again. So, fast forward. The 3D prints are now finished, they're off the print bed, and we're on to finishing. There was some assembly required. The guy who created this STL file actually was really nice and split up the whole gun into a lot of different parts. That way, if you have a smaller printer, you still can print an amazing prop. The only thing that you had to provide to complete this print was a rod or a dowel for the smaller little, I don't know, gun barrel underneath the main gun barrel. And that was it. Everything else, your 3D printer did. So one thing to know about the gun barrel. The specs online have it set at 25 millimeters in diameter. Well, 25 millimeters converted to inches is just a hair under an inch. Well, they don't make dowels, bars, rods, a hair under 1 inch. They're all standard size. So I ended up having to get a 1-inch dowel and sanding it down a little bit to get everything to fit. So with all the odds and ends purchased, it was now onto assembly. And like I said previously, it was really easy. Everything fit together. It was designed to fit together. So I used a 2-part epoxy for the parts that weren't quite flush and needed a little extra layer to help them stick together. And for the parts that were flush and were smooth, I use this stuff. I think I've shown this before. It's a plastic weld. Some people use acrylic cement. This is pretty much the same thing. So if you can't find acrylic cement, look for plastic weld. With everything now together, there were some spots that had to be filled to get them to smooth out. And I don't know why it took me so long to get this product into my repertoire, into my toolbox, but I used Bondo for the first time ever on a 3D print, and I've seen many people use Bondo, and I go, that'd be kind of cool. And I stuck with my usual filling putties and this and that. But I used Bondo, and my mind was blown. Gun body came together really easily. It fit together. The spots I had to fill and smooth out, weren't anything too crazy out of this world. But the stock was a different story. Because I was having issues with my 3D printer, actually I shouldn't say the 3D printer, I was having issues with me not paying attention to my 3D printer, the stock never fully layered right. So there were big gaps, and I ended up, when I was printing the files that had the pieces for the stock, it ended up falling over and the spaghetti monster emerged from the darkness. Well, the very, very butt end of the stock didn't end up getting finished. So instead of printing the whole file over again, which that particular file was over a 12-hour print, I was not doing that again. I used some epoxy sculpt to finish the little nub on the bottom, sanded it smooth, and once I filled in the seams for the other 4 parts, you had no idea that that print was all kinds of jacked up. But so with everything assembled, it was onto the sanding. In this one, there was a lot of sanding in this one. With my heart content with all the sanding and priming and filling that I had to do, it was on to painting. And the paint I used, Tamiya. Why would I use anything else? I am Tamiya's. I love their paint. And the gun body was a Tamiya gunmetal paint. I've actually used this paint before. You may want to take a look at my RoboCop video. It actually makes a nice, shiny metallic. I love that color. I love Tamiya paints. This is not sponsored by Tamiya, but hint, hint. I love Tamiya paints, but it was not the only paint I used. I actually used a variety of acrylic paints on this. The gun body was the gunmetal color, as I said before, but I used some Vallejo paints. I used some Deco Art paints. Base colors down on all the pieces, it was on to weathering. And weathering is probably one of my favorite parts about the whole process. I love doing it when I'm building models of planes or ships. I love doing it when I'm making props or cosplays. Just giving something that tarnished, dirty, battle-worn look. It's just a lot of fun. And because I'm a fan of weathering, I've actually got a few little things to help me weather. You can get these little oil pigments. I actually used this on another model, one of my first ones. You might want to go in the Wayback Machine and look at my Millennium Falcon. This little boy showed up quite a bit in that build. But I've also got these little pigments. They're just little dust. I mean, it actually, you put it on like you're putting on makeup. It has a little brush with a little foam or a little like bristle at the end, and you just start rubbing it all over the place. Once I was done giving it that battle-worn, dirty, grimy, been thrown around the sands of Tatooine look, I decided to do a little accents. You may see people use Rub and Buff. I used, guess what? More Tamiya paint. This one's just a really glossy silver. All the edges got dry brush with this to kind of pop out those accents. Now it's time for a clear coat. And of course it'd be Tamiya. I gave it a Tamiya semi-gloss clear coat to seal everything in. The big chunks of the gun are all painted, they're all weathered, they're all sealed in with the clear coat. The final assembly now. I've got the stock, I've got the gun body, and I've got the barrel. They all had to come together because you're not gonna kill many people with your gun in 3 pieces. And there you have it. Now I have my very own pulse rifle. I'm super happy how this project turned out. It took a little longer than I wanted to. We were a little concerned because we wanted to have it out for May the 4th. And we really pushed it up at the end of the deadline, but we got it out. So, happy May the 4th. And if you like this video, please like it. If you want to see more of our stuff, subscribe, hit the little bell button, and I'll just see you guys next time. And may the force be with you. It is now on to crap. Blech.